All right. All right, I think that we could go ahead and get going. All right, good evening, everybody. I'll call the meeting to order. Yeah, Brenda, I saw you already started recording. Would you take roll for us, please?
Sure. Board Member Bereski,
Present.
Board Member Mercier. Present. Board Member Ridley,
Present.
Board Member Raw,
Present.
Board Member Freeman, Council Member Anderson,
Present.
Council Member Woodward,
Present.
Mayor Sierra, Vice Chair Havenick is absent, and Chair Moore.
Present. All right, thank you. All right. First order of business is the approval of the minutes from our April 11th meeting. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Don.
I'll second it.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Any comments, corrections, discussion? All right, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 All right. Opposed? Motion carries. Brenda, is there anyone to speak in the public forum tonight?
There is not.
Thank you. All right, moving on to new business, item 5A, renewal of 2 contracts for services for dredging and hauling. Peter, I believe turn it over to you.
That's correct. Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. Got a few action items tonight. This is the first set of 2 contracts that we're looking for a recommendation for approval by council. It's for our expanded or our ongoing dredging and hauling of the solids pond, the south settling pond at the Allen plant. And we'll just run through a quick presentation on that and then look for any questions and then a recommendation for approval. So the South Reservoir solids accumulation, we've talked about this in the past. In 2021, we did a survey, found that there was a lot of solids in the pond, and this is directly having an impact on the water quality going into the North Pond, which then directly goes into the plant. And so we end up with this cycle of where impacted water just basically short circuits through the process, and the solids have built up over the years because the rate at which we remove them is slower than the rate that they are deposited in, and that has gone on historically for decades, which is why we have such a buildup. So last year we embarked on a process to try and clear out the ponds, and we did our first contract for dredging and hauling, and essentially removed about 203 dry tons, which was about 17% of the solids from the west cell. You can see above that there's solids in both the west cell and the east of the curtain wall. So there's about 2,600 tons of solids in there, and we removed 200 last year over the course of about a 6 or 8 week operation. This year, we're going to try and up that to 520 to again, slowly build us some more reservoir volume for the next few years so that we can address a longer term solution. The other piece of removing of the dredging is the hauling piece. And so we have a contractor that we utilize for the hauling. Next slide. So we issued an RFP in late 2021. We had 4 proposers selected by all velocity. Within that, within the contract, we allowed for an option to do an extension or execute a new extension renewal option. We did the same thing for the solids contract. And so what we're proposing this year is to bring them back out in June. Last year we spent $200,000 getting a couple hundred dry tons out. This year we're going to spend $400,000, try to get out a little bit more, and then contract for the hauling of that. Ultimately, what we plan to do is to improve the solids handling system in our solids handling building. Right now we have a belt press, which I think I've mentioned before was historically a fruit press that we repurposed into a solids press where we press the water out. And just the way we operate it, and given the age of the equipment and the inefficiency of the equipment, we're always lagging behind, which means we always put more in than we take out. So what we're looking to do is likely a centrifuge, which is the same type of technology that the contractor actually mounts to their trailer. It's also the same technology that's been used at South Platte Renew to dry solids or spin the water out of solids for the last couple decades. So we have 3 of them at South Platte Renew as well. So it's pretty tried and true technology. And so the reason why we're not proposing to remove all the solids with a contractor is because that estimate was $2 million to remove them all. And so we're splitting the difference here, where we're going to do another contract to buy us some time so that we can then install the more permanent option and use the funds instead of a one-time contractor process that, over the course of a couple of years, we'll actually buy the permanent equipment so that we can have a setup that meets the solids produced with the solids removed. So that's our longer term plan. So our plan is to, well, you can see for the solids, we issued the same invitation to bid. We had 2 proposals, and Radiation Pros was selected. The not to exceed for the solids hauling is actually $175,000. It was actually less than the dredging. Last year we had budgeted more, but it turned out it ended up costing less. So that is the summary of dredging and hauling round 2 for the year 2023.
Any questions? Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, a question. Will we ever be dredging the North Lake?
I don't know the degree we haven't done to my knowledge, we haven't done a comprehensive survey of the solids in the North Lake. I don't believe there may be a future project to dredge a certain amount, but it's not near the amount of solids that are in the South Lake. And basically the solids that are taken out of the process, they get deposited in that South Pond. And so the water that's in the North Pond is generally the raw source water. So whatever sediments come down with that water, it's a different type of solids deposition process. But I don't know right now that would be anything that we do in the reasonably near future.
Okay, great. Second question. When the piping of the ditch is completed, will that reduce the amount of sludge and stuff we have in that pond?
In theory, it could have a improving effect, because the water will be directly flowing directly from Chatfield, which is a pretty calm, waters, the solids are generally settled out there. And it'll be in a clean, clear pipe, so it won't be picking up debris along the way. It won't be picking up stormwater runoff that's flowing into the ditch right now in multiple locations along the length of the ditch. So in theory, it should improve the amount of solids that we need to take out.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Peter, I had a follow-up. So I mentioned you mentioned taking some of it out now, a long-term plan where the system will keep up with itself. Is there any need down the road to then further remove solids as time permits, or will we probably leave it where it's at if we're not adding to it after this?
No, what the plan is to, by the time with this second round of pulling a bunch of solids out, and then it takes the procurement of a centrifuge is, I think right now it's 60 weeks. So if we order it in a few months, it's still going to be over a year before we get that, and then installation. So we'd be looking at probably a year and a half before something like that would come online. Once that comes online, our intention is to clear the thing out of solids. And so we'll still be doing multiple contracts with haulers to remove the solids, but we won't have to bring in the contractor for the dredging piece of it, because we'll have an updated dredge, and then we'll have a much more efficient system that can be run much more frequently than our belt press.
Sounds good. Thank you. Not seeing any further questions. So with that, can I get a motion to approve, a motion for council as written in 5A?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, 5B.
Okay, the next action item we have is for renewal of professional services agreement for the city ditch piping project with Jacobs Engineering. This is the phase 2. So we're finishing up phase 1 of that project, which is the conceptual design and a lot of the data gathering. And then phase 2 moves into final design and then construction and services. So project overview, I think most of us know what this project is. It's kind of an important project for the system, addressing taste, odor, and hardness most significantly. Jacobs has been the engineer since we started the project. We selected them last fall. They've been doing a great job so far. We also brought on board Reynolds Construction as our CMGC, and that team has been working very well together to advance the project and move it forward. So this is what we've done in phase 1. You can see it's a lot of assessment and understanding the project conditions and the project scope. We've also done some public outreach. We actually took our conceptual designs for the locations where we'll be realigning the ditch or piping the ditch, and we held 2 public meetings, one last Wednesday in Littleton and one the Wednesday prior in Englewood. I think the Englewood one, they estimated around 200 people showed up to, so there was definitely interest in it. The Littleton one had less people at it. However, the people that were there were ones that were more directly affected because their property's back to the ditch that flows open channel right now. Phase 2, which is the next slide, this is what happens in phase 2, which is detailed survey, geotech, environmental, 60, 90, 100% plans, and then engineering services during construction. So the engineer continues to help inspect and provide field direction when there are questions during the construction phase. And then ultimately coordinating with the contractor Reynolds, who's the CMGC, our owner's advisor, who's Burns and McDonald, and us as the city representatives. Next slide. Oh. So this contract renewal right now is scheduled through December of 2024. That assumes that everything goes perfectly. It might take a little bit longer, but right now it's scheduled through December 2024. Contract amount is 1.215 million. We add a 10% staff managed contingency because there are some areas that we're not exactly sure how it's going to go yet as we get into final design, and we want to have the flexibility to be able to address those quickly. And then some supplemental services that only will be or activities that will only occur if we direct that they occur. So it's authorizing the ability to provide those supplemental services if necessary. The total contract authorization will be 1.377769. And I believe I'm up for questions. Chair, you're on mute.
I'm not seeing any hands at the moment. So can we get a motion to move the motion as written in 5B?
I'll move the motion as written in 5B.
Thank you.
Second.
Wonderful. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, on to 5C.
Okay, if you're wondering why I'm presenting all these tonight, Sarah is actually out of town. She's presenting on behalf of Englewood Utilities at the Arizona Water Conference. So that's why you're stuck with me tonight. So if you're wondering, especially now that we're going to talk about utility billing information. So this is for printing and mailing services. This is a contract that we annually renew. The contract amount has increased to the point where it's exceeded the typical. It was typically under 100,000. It's gone over 100,000 now. So we're bringing it to council for approval. So essentially, they do all of our printing and mailing of billing, not only just the monthly bills, but the annual bills that we send out to the connector district customers, of which there's approximately 35,000 accounts, as well as whenever we send out a special mailing or something that's a bill insert, things like that. They handle all that printing and support to get all that out on time. You can see the number of bills per year is 167,000. So our billing department is small but mighty and does a lot of billing of customers. We have these other customer notifications. There were some posted increases that we're anticipating for 2023, and we're trying to move to a calendar year contract renewal. So this will at least take us through the end of the year, and then we'll evaluate next year what how to get onto a more annualized schedule. It's an optimal source contract. We have been using them for, I believe, 10 years. 10 years ago, it went out for an RFP. InfoSend was contracted with. They performed well. We've kept using them for several years. And right now, we didn't feel that it made sense to make a change because we are very, very close. The contractor has assured me we're very, very close to getting the new billing system online, and we didn't want to change this aspect while we're now about to execute the new billing system. Actually, to your right, you can see an example of what the new bill is going to look like out of the new billing system. So just a preview of what will be coming this summer. There's a lot more information for the homeowner or the customer to understand their bill and ways to look at their water usage over time. All that said, we plan to issue an RFP at some point in the future once the billing system stabilizes to go back out to a competitive market and get a new contract in place.
Any questions for Peter? All right, seeing none. Can we get a motion as written in 5C?
So moved.
Second? Can we get a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right. Further discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, opposed? Motion carries. All right. No old business for tonight, so we'll move on to staff's choice.
Okay, the first staff's choice item that I have is actually some good news. The state of Colorado has issued the city utilities department 2 grants in a total amount of $426,000 to help us study and characterize and understand treatment technologies that might work to address PFAS. This is and the 2 award letters were included in your packet if you want to see the more specifics of what they're for. One is to do broader characterization, and the other one is to look at technologies for treatment. So this was actually something that came as a result of us somewhat being first in line as it related to PFAS characterization. If you remember earlier this late winter, we had to send out a notice talking about our levels and things like that. Well, because we went early, we had first access to these types of grants. There's a team of 4 people in utilities that basically led the charge on this to get this $426,000. That was Zach Alabassi, our water treatment manager, Josh Roach, our DD of operations and maintenance, Lauren Worley, who is our regulatory compliance coordinator, and then Sarah Stone, who you all know is our deputy director of business solutions. Through their efforts to stay on top of this and to, the 4 of them combined with the support of Stantec Consulting, who is our consultant that worked with us on this, we were successful in bringing $426,000 of grant money into the utility for PFAS. So it's more of a congratulations to that group and really just some good news.
Thanks for that update. Any questions? Not seeing any. All right. Then I believe next is our executive session.
Actually, Chair,
Yep.
2 quick things since they are recent today that I think are that from a staff's choice perspective would be helpful for the board, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So one, we got a Celebrate Englewood was this past weekend, and we had a booth, and a person came up and basically expressed how, and I'll read the email. She thinks that Englewood water is the best in the Front Range. She works as a dog sitter, goes all over, and she comments on the fact that she brings her own water straight from her home tap, and she prefers Englewood water to others. So every now and then we get someone who actually really likes the water and expresses it to us. So I wanted to share it with the board.
Thank you.
So the other item is good news, but a little bit challenging as well. So the valve replacement project started 2 days ago. And what we're finding is as they try to isolate the valve, they shut other valves that then break. And we got notice today of a resident who was out of water for, I think, a day and a half because it was beyond the range of where we had originally notified, because once we start breaking valves down the line to try and isolate so we remove, what it's done is it's caused us to step back after 2 days of feedback to potentially rethink how we are providing notice and then providing additional notice if when we break a valve, we need to start closing additional valves. When we break valves, sometimes it doesn't create a problem, but sometimes actually, once it breaks, it creates a leak in the street that we then have to go and isolate, and that puts additional people out of water. So 2 days in, we're finding out that the system definitely needs some help, and we're working on the feedback from those first 2 days to help improve that approach for our customers, so that if they are out of water for any period of time, that they'll get plenty of advance notice or responding notice if it becomes an emergency. But if you're hearing anything from your constituents, please feel free to send them to us. Just know that this is probably going to be an aspect of this project because of the age of the system. And that was it.
Yeah. Proving it's an odd way to prove the need to do what we're doing. Very good. All right. I'll move towards the executive session then. So I need a motion that we enter into executive session for the purpose of receiving advice from legal counsel on specific legal questions related to City of Englewood water rights as authorized by CRS 24-6-402 4B. Can I get such a motion?
So moved.
Second? Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, and opposed, hearing none. We are in executive session. Brenda, do we have to do anything beyond that to make it happen? Or Peter? Are
I'm
we
going to defer to Brenda on this in terms of getting us into whatever room. Are we in the?
Yeah, so we
We're
need to
supposed to be in?
go, there should be I just opened the room. So you should be able to find the room and join it. Everyone should have an invite. If you don't, let me know.
Where would
I
we find
don't-
the invite?
Yeah, I don't see one at this moment. Normally they pop up. I don't have one. Does anyone see an invite?
I do
not.
No, it is something that's popped up yet. And just to be clear, the invite will go to all the board members as well as Jeff Williamson from Berg Hill and myself.
Actually, Victoria, I was going to ask, do we have to specify who exactly is going to be in the room for this?
It's best practice too, just to make clear.
Do
who's
we have to
authorized
do
to be
this
there.
part of the motion, or?
We can do it as we're doing it now, just to make clear who's going to be moving in. It doesn't specifically have to be part of the motion.
It's popped up on mine now.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, let's all see each other in the other room. All right, let's see. Looks like we're almost all back. Peter, I believe we're just down to board members' choice. You don't have anything further, did you?
I do not.
Okay. If board members would like to raise anything, I'll still give you a quick opportunity. All right, I see no hands raised. Time's up. Let's consider this meeting adjourned. I appreciate all of your patience. Have a good evening with what's left. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.